Hey there, Gemini. Welcome to your reading. It's Keegan. I hope that you guys have been doing well. This reading is for Gemini Sun, Moon, Venus, and Rising signs. I'm going to talk really quickly here at the beginning because I'm trying to keep these readings relatively brief. The reason for that is because that Spirit told me to do it, to try to do at least a series of readings that were shorter than what is typical for me. So I'm trying my best to do it. I've already drawn some cards from an oracle deck to get me have some insight into your energy, and we'll talk about those first. Then we'll take a look at some tarot cards and wrap things up with another oracle deck to get some advice or guidance for you specific to this reading. If at the end of this reading you want to explore more in depth with me one-on-one, information about personal readings is in the description box below, as well as information about gratitude donations if you so feel compelled to do that. So with that all being said, let's flip you guys over to the overhead view so you can see what I'm looking at here. Like I said, I went ahead and pulled some energy. And I have to tell you guys, the best way for me to describe what I'm seeing here is I think the twins are a little bit at odds with one another in terms of readiness to move forward from something. So on one hand, there are cards here, these three cards in particular here, that are all about being in a space where you're ready for a lot of change, you're ready to take the leap, you're ready to embrace things, you're really asking for guidance in terms of what's best for you. I think a lot of you are either at a place where you're right on the edge of a new chapter in life, so this would represent energy of really wrapping up something that's been an investment of your time, moving into a new chapter, moving into a new phase of life. And really being open and receptive to it, just being very excited and not really having any desire to try to force it or control it, just really being open and receptive to what wants to show up for you. Then there are these three cards right here. Clinging to the past, nothingness, control. Nothingness, you can think about that card. It looks a little bit intimidating just being all black, but it's basically equal to the Hierophant card in terms of energy. It's really about being in a place where we're just sticking with what we know. We're not allowing anything to come in to change. So you have clinging to the past, the Hierophant energy, and then control, right? And then sitting up at the top, you have the postponement card. And the reason that things are feeling like you're not getting any traction, or things feel like maybe they're taking a long time, or you're not seeing the results that you want, is because of this conflict that's going on, right? On one hand, you have all this energy that's just ramped up and ready to go and open and receptive to whatever wants to, be presented. And then you have this other energy that's very much saying, no, stick to what we know. Don't deviate from things. Really keep, control over this. And it's like these two things are canceling each other out. So what I will say about this postponement card, right? If you look, I'm going to try to show it to you in pieces here. The person is in black and white. They're in grayscale, and there's this framed area where there's color, and outside of that there's all of this gray. But if you look here, right, this is starting to impact this person in terms of their clothes. The color is starting to actually come in, but it is delayed, and the reason for that delay is this conflict of the energy that's showing up here. Now I want to say, if I look at these cards, even just like compare them across, it's still more of the same, right? You have traveling, which is basically the Eight of Wands energy, whereas, a quick change coming in, really lots of action taking place, getting the news that you're waiting to get, being in a place where, there's movement on things. You're hearing what you need to hear in terms of communication from people. You're not having to wait. But then on this other side, there's control. And so what's happening here for you guys, and I think this is just important for you to think about this, whatever your particular situation is. Again, I do feel like there's a marking of kind of like one, like I'm seeing it's not even like, it doesn't even really feel to me like a chapter in a book, because what I'm seeing visually is a book being closed and being put away, and then another book being taken down. So this feels like a pretty big milestone. So for some of you, this is being at a place where you're literally closing out a chapter of life. So what I'm feeling from that is kind of like movement from like, one decade to the next, right? Or you might be in a place where you're closing out a chapter where maybe you've been a student for a period of time and you're closing that out and you're moving into your career. Or you've been at a certain place in your career and you're making a decision to, somehow radically change that. But it's a fairly significant change. When the fear comes in and you start trying to control it, though, instead of saying to the universe, like, okay, show me the best path, show me the thing that's best for me, show me the, you know, the highest possible good for me, which is this energy, right? Asking for that guidance. When the control comes in, like when the whichever twin it is that gets freaked out by all this change and not really trying to map it all out and have it all planned, you're canceling out the potential, right? Ultimately, one of these twins has to win out, okay? And that, what's so interesting with Gemini is that I can't tell you which twin is going to be better here, okay? Oftentimes with Gemini, the twin that is wanting to be very methodical, wanting to plan everything out, wanting to have a list, wanting to have, you know, go through all the contingency plans, very often that twin is the one that should win out, because it's a situation where that's what's required, right? You can't just go through and look at things haphazardly or just leave everything up to fate, right? Other times, the twin that is more receptive to just going with the flow and following where you need to be led to, that one needs to win out. Sometimes it's possible to find a happy medium between those two, but I don't think that it's as possible here as it can be sometimes, because, like I said, it's like, instead of like, sometimes in terms of the conflicts with the twins, you guys can find a happy medium. You can find a compromise, right? Where you say, okay, well, we're going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and that's how we're going to move forward. But what I'm getting from this energetically is, like I said, it's like canceling out. It's like this energy is canceled out by this. You can't be in this energy if you're trying to be here. You can't sort of leap into whatever it is that is unknown while still trying to do everything that you've done in the way that you've done it and really leaning into what's known, right? You can't leap into the unknown if you're trying to stay in the known. You really can't allow yourself to be brought into something new if you're clinging to stuff from the past. And so every way that I look at this, right, things are canceling each other out. The thing that doesn't get canceled out for me is the card that's dead center, which is guidance. And this is really about being in a place where I think asking for input from other people, asking for, just getting some input that isn't just going on in your own mind could be really beneficial to you. What's interesting to me, though, and I'll say this, I don't know why this is coming through. This might be just for a few of you, but I want to acknowledge this energy. There's something here in terms of like, where you would normally go for guidance, where you would normally turn, when you find yourself in the situation where, right, like I'm just going to move this card over here, right? When you find yourself in the situation where, this cancels out this, and this cancels out this, and this cancels out this, and you feel like your mind is sort of going in circles, or you're backing yourself into corners, or you're going down something and there's a dead end, or when you're in this space, right, this energy, and I think everyone listening to me knows the energy that I'm talking about, where you really are conflicted and you're not quite sure how to get yourself out of it. I feel like the place that you would normally turn, either the person that you would normally go to, or what you would do to try to get yourself into being able to think differently or find some sort of compromise, it's either that person is not available to you, or what you've done in the past to be able to try to break yourself out of this isn't working, okay? Because one of the things with this guidance card is I feel like you're reaching for it, but you don't quite know where to find it. That's the best way I can describe what's coming through here. So I just want to sit with that for a little bit more to see if I can explain it better. And again, I don't know if that's going to resonate with everyone, but I want to try for the people that are going, yes, I understand. If typically this would be you reaching out to, let's say, a friend, or reaching out to someone in your family, or, trying a specific approach, if that's not available to you for some reason, meaning maybe you don't have that connection anymore, or this isn't something that you feel like you can talk to that person about. I'm not, because I'm trying to keep this general, right? So I'm trying not to get too specific here, but find an alternative, right? Or maybe you're just creating a situation where you feel like you can't go to this person, or you can't talk to that person, or you don't have that resource when you really actually do, right? But I think this is the key to unlocking this kind of being canceled out, because it really does feel like you get, you know, I think the saying is like you take, you know, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, or 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. What I feel for you is like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. You're just, it's an immediate like cancel out every time you try to approach this from one side or the other. And so since this feels very much like, okay, there's side A, there's side B, you have to figure out how to get guidance that comes in externally from this, because these things aren't canceling this out. This remains to me even when I see these other things kind of like pinging back and forth and canceling each other out. Okay, so I just want to address that before moving on from this. So if this resonated with you, if you've been shaking your head yes, if this has felt like it's meant for you, hang out. We're just going to do a couple more minutes here. I'm going to grab a tarot deck. I did pre-shuffle this, but I want to shuffle a little bit now that I've been in your energy. I'm going to just take a moment here. I did just get a flash of the Two of Wands. See if that comes out again. Okay. All right, the World card. Like I said, this is something big, right? This is something really, really big. The World card represents when it's upright, you know, specifically when it's upright, it's reversed here, but when it's upright, this represents completing a big goal, something that's a completion of a major event. And I said that, right? I felt like you guys are on this, like on the precipice of something that is going from one place to the other. And it's not even like it's a chapter in the same book, right? I said like one book gets put away, another book gets pulled down. What's happening here though is you're not able to actually complete it. You're not able to close it out. There are either things that are still need to be dealt with. There are lessons that still need to be learned. There are issues that still need to be resolved. There's some sort of delay or problem that's coming in from you being able to close this out. But this is confirmation to me. This is like a big turning point in your life. Okay. Queen of Pentacles coming out reversed here. You know, what's interesting about the Queen of Pentacles reversed is the Queen of Pentacles reversed is a very non-committal type of energy. The Queen of Pentacles upright is very much about commitment, stability, you know, developing that connection with like a partner, developing home, having family, right? When the Queen of Pentacles is reversed, it's a very non-committal energy. There's a little bit of there's energy here that's interesting. It's the Queen of Pentacles reverse can have a little bit of like envious or jealous energy to it, kind of not being satisfied with what you have, looking at what other people have and kind of fixating on that. And what I'm sensing here that I said is interesting, it's almost like that energy is going back and forth between being a little bit envious, a little bit jealous, and then just being absolutely indifferent and not caring one way or the other. And again, it's like I'm saying, there's so much energy that comes in and then energy is canceled out, because it's like equal intensity, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm so jealous, I so wish that I had that, then it's like, oh, I don't really care, and it doesn't matter. And it's they both just wash each other away, and then you're left in this place where it's neutral. There's no energy left for you to go one way or the other, because it's just canceling each other out. This is good. Ten of Swords showing up here. It's reversed, and I'm glad that it's reversed, because the Ten of Swords represents basically being in a place where, you know, you can't continue forward with this for forever. Eventually, something's going to have to give. Something's going to have to win out. There will be a path that's clear for you in terms of moving forward towards whatever that new beginning or that new start is, right? I think, too, that this represents being in a place where if there is something that was like a very painful loss, or if there was something that happened that was a very painful experience for you, you might still just be in a place where you're still healing from that. And I do think that you are healing, because this Ten of Swords is showing up reversed. But give yourself that space to do that, because it could just be that you're not able to make some of these decisions or really follow what feels best for you, because you're still in a place where you're trying to heal. And it feels a little bit like you've segmented off that pain, because you can't deal with all of it all at once. And so you're having to deal with it as you can. And I think that might be what I was picking up on with that guidance card, of feeling like there's some sort of a loss of what would normally be there to support you, or to help you to make these decisions. And my mind is trying to figure out what the best thing to name this video is. And so I want to say this here. If you feel like what I named this video doesn't actually align to what I'm talking about, and you have a better way of saying it, put that in the comments, guys, because I can always change the title to make it more reflective to how this is resonating for you. But this is making me feel like that energy that I picked up with that guidance of saying, like, whatever it is you would, however it is you would normally solve this conflict, whether it's a person or an approach, not feeling like you have that or not feeling like you're able to utilize it is coming through again with this. And so I'm going to give thought to the best way of describing that in the title. But if you feel like there's a better way of saying that and you're like, I understand what this is and here's how I would phrase it, please let me know that. Oftentimes with the air signs, I struggle as someone who has a ton of water in my chart to express it, you know, in a way that isn't like a watery, emotional way. Okay. Last card here. Let's see what we have. We have the Empress coming out here. I like this. I'm really happy that this has shown up because, you know, the Empress is all about creation. The Empress is all about allowing for things to grow. Very often the Empress is associated with things like, you know, motherhood and pregnancy, you know, really creating, right? But the other thing about this is like fertility, abundance. There's a lot of things here that are there's so much potential. There's so much potential ahead of you. And again, you know, with the World card and the cards that came out, you know, in terms of the energy, again, it's just acknowledgement. But there's so much good. And I think what's happening is that it's almost like you're overwhelmed by the newness. You're overwhelmed by the realization that this is something that's really a huge turning point. And this feels like a place where, you know, the way that your life was before, you know, there's no going back to it. It's stepping forward into something that's a completely new phase of life and being a little bit insecure about that. But I like that this card showed up upright because it means ultimately there's energy here that's going to be birthed. There's energy here that's going to lead to newness and creation and abundance and something that is really good and exciting. Like, I feel like there's lots of good. You just have to allow yourself to, you know, what I will say here in terms of like my own input here, just my own input, is this is something with the World card showing up, this is something that's going to happen one way or the other. I don't think that there is a right way or a wrong way of approaching this. It's just figuring out the way that allows you to actually step into it. What do you need to do to step into this new chapter? Because the new chapter is coming one way or the other. So for me, I would say to you, you're either going to go into it willingly or you're going to go into it kind of like fighting it. But regardless, you have to go into it, right? Because this is something that you can't avoid. So that card just fell out. We're going to take it. So this says, when I'm in alignment with the love of the universe, peace cannot be disrupted. And I think that goes back again to that guidance card. You have to figure out what it is that breaks the tie. What's the tiebreaker? How can you break the tie so that you can actually embrace the changes that are going to come through for you? Okay. Gemini, thank you for hanging out with me. I just want to tell you guys, ultimately, if there's any fear inside of you about what's ahead, I sense energetically that there's lots of good ahead for you. And so you really just have to settle into it and allow yourself to find peace in that transition, because the transition, it does feel very big and it does feel like, again, like it's a massive shift from one phase of life to the other. But you're going to be okay. It's going to work out. So don't allow yourself to be intimidated by it to the point that you're, you know, freaked out. Whatever you need to do to figure out how to settle into it, figure that part of it out. Again, if you're interested in doing a personal reading with me to look at this a little bit more in depth, all that information is in the description box below. If you're still listening, please take a moment to give the video a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys again soon. There's lots of stuff coming during the month of March here on the channel. Okay.